Hello guys, welcome to episode 8 of this tutorial. In this episode, I want to show you how you can persist the changes that you make to your context state to the local storage of your browser. So far, as you can see, I have developed this simple application. So it's a dashboard, right? And everything works fine except for the fact that I lose my changes whenever I refresh the page. So if, for example, I delete this and I refresh this, my changes are gone. So the next step for this dashboard app is to implement the functionalities required to store and persist the changes to local storage. So that will help us to keep our changes. Whenever the application is loaded or reloaded, the changes will be loaded from local storage and we will not lose the changes anymore. Let's get to this. So yeah, the objective is to make sure our authors and books survive page refresh by saving and loading our state to local storage. Why are we using local storage? Browsers local storage keeps key value pairs persistently. So data saved there survives refreshes and browser closes when the browser closes. And it's a very simple way to, for small applications like this one, to save the state of the application without communicating with a backend API. In a real world application, you would probably like to use some caching, for example, or communicate with a backend to store the data in the backend as well. So the step is very simple, right? So we're going to create a simple, custom hook called use local storage. And this function is going to be available to our two contexts, book context and author context. And they will be able to, load data from local storage and save data to local storage. So this is very simple. Again, as I told you, it's a simple, function that accepts a key and an initial value associated with that key. It is using this, use state for, keeping track of the stored value inside of local storage. And then it is using the local storage API to get an item based on that key. And if it finds that item, it's going to parse it, it's going to return it. Otherwise, it's going to return that initial value. And if it encounters any error, it's going to it's going to print out this error. And of course, we have the use effect as well. I'm going to create, by the way, probably a video or a tutorial for custom hooks, for creating custom hooks in React. But anyway, I am creating this, I am using this use effect, right? And I am, tracking the use effect using the key as well as the stored value. And I am communicating with my, backend, with my local storage to set the item. Whenever that item is changed, I am going to, use this use effect to run some, side effects. So I am going to update the value for that, key based on this simple line of code. And of course, I am going to return this use local storage custom hook. Now, inside of my two components, author context as well as the book context, I am going to make use of this hook. So I am going to import, for example, use local storage, right? This is the author context. And as you can see, I am, for the authors array for this, state, I am using this custom hook to get this, key, the value for this key from the local storage, or, set it to an empty string. So this is the way to incorporate that use local storage custom hook into my context. So first, let's create this piece of code. So we're going to create a folder called hooks with use local storage JS. Inside of my src, it's going to be this hooks use local storage.js, and I'm going to run this code. So use local storage, stored value, and set stored value, the two, the state, the local state, using the local storage from my browser to get the item for that key. And then if I encounter any errors, I'm going to console error that. Next, use effect for setting the value to local storage. And then we're done. We're just going to return stored value and set a stored value. Now, inside of my author context, I'm going to remove this, and I am going to write a new version of this code that uses that, custom hook, use local storage. So let me import create context and use context. Let me import that use local storage as well. And the author context, author provider, and the value is going to be set using this local storage hook. And then I am going to return the author context as before. Let me get rid of this. The next step for us is to go ahead and update the book context as well. So book context, I'm going to remove this as well, and then I am going to write the code. This code is again for the book context, but it uses use local storage. Book provider, books and set books coming from use local storage with the key books, and then book context provider. And then we are going to export use books, which is going to return this use context book context. So this is the update we had to make to the application. So we updated the author context, we updated the book context as well. Now no authors are saved to local storage yet. This is the reason why we're not seeing anything here. But I'm going to start adding authors. So I'm going to add this author, and then I'm going to refresh, and you will see that I don't lose anything because this book, this author has been saved to my local storage. Now React development made easy or made simple is the name of the book, and then if I refresh, nothing is lost. I can also go ahead and delete this altogether, and again that is being saved. So right now the contexts that the application has communicate with this local storage to save the changes. And this is not a bad idea for small applications, but of course in real world applications, chances are you would like to start communicating with a backend API to store your data. I'm going to wrap up this video here. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. If that's the case, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and stay tuned for the next one.